oh, it's Friday the 13th and we managed to go live.
Yeah,
Amazing.
we did. We did. Of all the Fridays and all the hassle we've been through on Friday the 13th, nothing bad happened. That's
Yeah.
weird.
You just jinxed us. You don't say something like that on Friday the 13th.
Yes, you're right. You're right. I will fall off my chair or something. I don't know. Something something will happen. Yeah.
Good
Good
morning and
morning.
Friday. So we've had quite the week. I was at Gartner, and so a few things happened, right? So first off, Gartner had like a really great keynote this year. At some of the events in the past, I haven't been as convinced by their keynote, but they did a really nice job this year. And one of the things that they talked about was how convergence is going to happen in the governance space, right? The data governance plus AI governance and model governance and security governance all has to come together, right? And then they're talking about how, that convergence happens, but at the same time, the federated governance is going on too, right? So that you've got the domain expertise, but just handling kind of a broader swath of governance. So I found that quite an interesting concept because I hadn't viewed it that way. So it was a really great keynote. And then JJ and I talked about data contracts and products because we recently commissioned some research from Bark. And what they found was 69% of organizations were using data products. And I was like, wow, I wonder what they mean by data products. 'Cause that number seemed really high for me. Right. Then they also said that 61% are using data contracts, and that the organizations that are most successful in AI deployments are the same ones that are using the open data contract standard. So it was like very specific finding in the research that they did. But it kind of makes sense that if you're using standards, you're going to have more success in deploying it company wide. But they found that companies that are using data contracts and standards are more than three times more likely to be successful with AI than companies that are not. And they measured success by three or more AI projects in production, or at least. Sorry, and then separately, at least one agent or automated process in production. So the findings were quite staggering. Because anytime I do like an informal polling in an audience, like how many are using data products, about 25% put their hands up, maybe 30%, but it's not 68%, right? And then on the data contract side, it tends to be lower still. So we were kind of curious as to whether or not the results were reflected in what Gartner hears. So when we did our analyst briefings, we asked them, and they said, "No, those numbers sound right to us." But they did confirm that the understanding of what a data product is varies. Right? Some people will have every data asset in the organization is viewed as a product. So, that was kind of borne out by a question we had at lunch. We hosted a lunch on the Tuesday, and somebody asked, "Just how much business logic should you put in a data product?" I'm like, "None." Was my answer. So that was quite interesting. Okay, so we have a question here, is it the standard itself making it easier to glue it across? I think it is, yeah. And the lovely thing about having the standard too is that you can then very quickly build tools to allow you to build your data contracts, right? You just say, hey, here's all the mandatory components of the contract. Here's the optional components. Kind of build a wizard to very quickly, build out the contracts. Or you could take a data first approach, right? I have these data sets. What would a contract look that supports that, and then you can add in more elements into the contract. So yeah, Ramon, that's a really good question, and I think that definitely helps in it. So the other thing I was thinking as we were like talking to people that didn't understand what a data contract and product was, that we probably need to get JGP's workshop on products and contracts on the road, right, and get more of an education going on exactly what this is. And I know he wears the two hats, right? He's got the BitHall, the standards hat side of things, and then he's obviously an Action employee, so maybe he wears a BitHall hat and an Action shirt, right, and does his workshop. But I think there's an opportunity for us to do some education there as part of the thought leadership program that we're running. So a really good event
Absolutely.
for us, and I got to do a book signing. So here's my O'Reilly booklet. And to make it interesting, I did a bookmark because next Tuesday is St. Patrick's Day, and it's my family's recipe for an Irish coffee. So I was in the O'Reilly booth signing the book and then handing out the bookmarks. And I was a little embarrassed to call this a book because it's literally this thick, right? It's this is it. And I said this woman came up and she asked me if I would like autograph the book for her. And I'm like, well, I'm kind of embarrassed to call it a book. And she's like, okay. She's like, it's printed. It's bound. You're standing in an O'Reilly booth and there's a queue of people waiting for an autograph. It's a book. So I'm like, okay, I'll take it. It's a book.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very nice. But it's also super interesting. Like I actually read it, and it's really like you can tell that you've been in data for your
That's
season
for you.
data. Yeah,
For
exactly.
you.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So obviously that also brings a lot of experience that you can really tell that you've gathered in this text, right? So great. I mean, yeah, no, it's a great read, and I'm sure a lot of you'll get a lot of happy readers.
There were a lot of people. So I think we gave away a couple of hundred copies of it at the show, and a lot of people wanted to read it on the flight home. And that's the idea behind this format, right? They call it an airplane read, where in a couple of hours and you'd be done with it. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, it's kind of like reading, I don't know, The Economist on Newsweek or something like that,
But
right?
yeah, yeah, not quite, but yeah.
Oh, well, I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. Um,
But yeah, for us it was a really good week, and we unfortunately, when you go to these events, you see that everybody's doing the same thing, right? Everybody's chasing that same opportunity, and everybody's talking about the importance of context, semantic layers, ontologies. And so when you look across the exhibit show floor, we all have, oh, the context for AI, or last year everybody had AI ready data and whatever. So we're looking at how do we differentiate, and I think some of the ideas that we articulated to the analysts they really liked, and in fact one of my meetings ended with a that's really 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 cool. So that was cool. Oh, Ramona, drop me your an address and I will send you the book and a bookmark. And yeah, cheers. Thank you. So anyway, the idea we have around the smart data products, they really liked a lot. So they're like, yeah, nobody else is doing that. So it's a good opportunity for us.
Absolutely. Well, we have something quite stellar in the pipeline there. I think
Yeah.
also something that just like obviously we need to come up like things need to have a name, obviously.
Yeah.
It's kind of how language works anyway. But uh, but
Or
more than that,
smart data products.
yeah. but but more than that, this is really like a unique. We are building something unique. We are building a unique solution on the market. And when you do that, you should also be very aware of that. So
Yeah.
to communicate that directly. Yeah. So no, but it was great to follow. Obviously, based in Europe, I normally don't attend the US events since we have so many people over there. But it definitely seemed like a very nice event, the Gartner event, and I like also what you said resonates when you just followed it on the side that like that this particular event seemed to have some very original messaging from Gartner's side compared
Yeah.
to the normal Gartner events, which are I guess not generic, but like a little more streamlined in terms of trends going on in the market. So that's really interesting to see Gartner taking that approach and perhaps differentiating themselves a little bit.
I think they're bringing a lot more practitioners on board too, right? The people have lived it rather than, academics and theorists, but actually people that are in the trenches. So I think
Yeah,
that's helping them. And then I think to be more forward looking. I think in the past they've had the benefit because the markets are really stagnant of being backwards looking, but the data market at the moment is just, changing hour to hour, right? So
yeah,
Yeah. I
Crazy.
think had to have like a completely different approach. So I think that's really good. And they had one of their analysts did a keynote on the future of AI, and he started talking about quantum, and he had like a whole lot of parallels between what happens in nature and what should be happening in AI. And one of the examples he gave was of a project where they stitched an old mouse to a new mouse. And what they found was that the old mouse became younger. I'm sorry, and the pathways that had been closing off had opened up again, and they could measure how youthful it was becoming. And the idea there was that you take some of the AI technologies and you fuse it with experts in the field, that they will become more modern in how they're approaching the world and the problems. So it was a
Mm,
fascinating talk. Yeah, I think we've seen it
yeah.
before with like database servers become autonomic, right? So adopting from nature the fact that if you cut off part of it, it can self heal, and we've been doing that with databases for a while. So I quite enjoyed that whole discussion on quantum and how it's going to influence things going forward. So it was a good conference, and we'll be doing it again in London, and you'll be joining that one, right? And then I think we're going to do Sydney as well. I'm pretty sure we're doing Sydney as well. So it'll be
Yeah.
interesting to see then too. Is there a difference in how Gartner shows up in Europe and Australia, or is there a difference how the audience shows up? One of the things I've noticed in the past is that things reach Australia later than the rest of the world, so they get the benefit of learning from everybody else's mistakes. And so when we were at Gartner in Sydney 2 years ago, it seemed like they were a little bit behind where we were in the US and Europe. So it'll be interesting to see how much they're catching up now.
Okay. Yes, I actually didn't know that about Australia, but I'll remember to mention that for my Australian friends that they're a little behind in general. No, but more than that, yeah. Speaking of our upcoming events, I just want to do some like with no shame, do some self promotion. I'll be speaking in London at the RAM UK event in London in March 24th, I believe it is. I'll
So what
be,
is that event? Why don't you share that with
th-
the audience?
yeah, that is an event on data and AI governance that is hosted by RM UK. So it's a really great conference that is basically also primarily driven by, or the talks are primarily by practitioners. Obviously, that can be anything from architects and engineers to executive leaders, but but it really is about working with data architecture, data governance, and so forth. And so I was invited. It's not my first time attending these events. They are excellent. They are really excellent. They are many of the talks are very fresh and great perspectives directly from industry. And I've been invited there in my capacity as an author several times. So I will be part of a panel that will be discussing the role of metadata in the age of AI. It's hosted by Ben Clinch from Ortega, a great company that I have followed for quite a while. And Ben is, I believe, I can call him a friend. And there will be two panelists. One which name I can't remember, but she's flying in from South America, and then the other panelist is a former guest on my podcast, Enterprise Wide, just before I joined Action, actually. Dr. Anna Ibrahim, I believe she's called. She's based out of the UK, and I'm a big fan of her views, her work. So look forward to meeting her in real life in London. And then after that, we have an event that hasn't been announced yet, but I'll be doing an event in Munich with a very interesting tech partner and tech and a very interesting tech author. end of March, but I'll announce that early next week. So I have two events coming up in the end of March, and then going into to the spring, as you mentioned. Obviously, there are many events coming up. Gartner, London being one of them. I have many events coming up this spring, but they are more logically grouped. So I'll be flying around in a less haphazard pattern than what I did in the fall, which is nice on a personal level. But I'll be at the Data Innovation Summit in Stockholm. Will you be there also, Anna?
I'm hoping to. I checked my calendar, and it seems like I can do that, and then go from there to Gartner, London. Right? Is that your plan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So yeah, I'm hoping to. I don't know if that presentation that JJ and I did last week at Gartner. I don't know if we've submitted that or not. So I'll need to get with JJ and figure that.
yeah.
That is a great event. I love it. And the data after dark and the smoke machines and it's like a really hip I am showing my age, right? It to me it's very hip, right? It's
I think we can call it hip, Emma. I think it's a nice event, right? It's very. I think it's also. You can also feel that it's, and I mean that in a positive way, that it's a Swedish event. There's a lot of music.
yeah.
It's just very professional.
It's not
Everything
all
is just
ABBA. Yeah.
yeah.
But we did go to the ABBA Museum and we absolutely loved it. It's such
Yeah.
a fun museum. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, no, you're right. It's got great music. It's got a great vibe. We last time we were there, we had the racetrack, where people got to race scale electric cars. You probably call them scale electric. I forget what they call them here, slot cars or something. Yeah, they call them here. But
Mm.
anyway, we had fun and we had like a dashboard that showed how people were doing, and we had the whole thing instrumented. And this year, I think we're switching from playing with cars and Lego to golf because we're sponsoring Michael Kim. So I think there'll be some kind of golf simulator that obviously golf has a ton of data that you could be tracking. So I think there'll be some fun there too. But yeah,
Do we
no,
have
it's a good event. So that one, I'm looking forward to. Yeah.
Yeah. And so will we also have the golf track in at Gartner, or is that
No,
not
Gartner
allowed
doesn't allow for toys on your booth unless you're like a very high end sponsor. So we had a like a tabletop version of a golf game, and I watched a few people playing it, and there's like basically a big ball that you had to spin, and that was like the force at which the club was moving. But it was a tabletop thing that kept moving around the table, so it didn't work so well. So only
Oh,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. Yeah, and I guess there's a couple of more events also later in the fall, but I've lost track of all of it, to be honest. But it's definitely great to have like I think it's great to have a real vision for our product portfolio. Obviously, I focus a lot on data intelligence, and to really be able to communicate that gives these events a completely different feeling than if you're only representing something that's not moving, something that's a little more status quo. I look very much forward to
Like it's completely
communicate.
commoditized. Yeah, I spent a lot of
Yeah,
time in the database, right? And there wasn't a whole lot happening in the database world. But now, literally hour to hour, things change. So trying to stay on top of everything is quite the task. But I
yeah,
think for me, by far the most exciting time in data. Like there's
yeah.
nothing that close, right? I kind of got excited by Hadoop, right? Because up until Hadoop came around, data was very boring, right? And data warehouse. I know the whole modular stuff. I'm like, wow, that's a lot, right? And then Data Lake kind of felt like, I'm sorry, the Hadoop movement kind of felt like it was Linux happening all over again, right? Where you got this massive disruptor coming into the market that's crowdsourced, and then there's lots of open standards and really fun projects happening. I think that was a fun time in data at the beginnings of Hadoop. But I think this is definitely the most fun. And we were to quote not a panelist, but a guest on our podcast morning, right? It's the most fun you can have of keeping your pants on. I think it's a very it's probably inappropriate for corporate sponsored webinar, but I do think it's a really fun time in data, right? And what I love about it is that for the longest time, when I tried to explain what I do to people, they had a hard time like grasping it. But this is something that everybody understands, and the importance of getting your data right for AI, and the risk of getting it wrong, right, is so huge. And everybody's sharing this same level of excitement about what it enables, and then this fear as well that it just takes over. So it leads to some very interesting conversations. So the obviously the biggest fear is like there's no putting this genie back in the bottle. So making sure that we're all approaching it with the right attitude, and putting all the right safeguards in place is important.
Yeah, obviously, like just that makes me think of this uh, trend that some people are posting ideas that okay, you can get rid of the workforce, people are becoming obsolete, you can just do everything with AI. I think like, and this I guess is a personal point of view, but uh, what I'm really thinking that also the experiences that we are like accumulating obviously inside action as any other company that works seriously with AI. I think you you can't underestimate the accumulation of experience as roles transform and converge. If you have been used to being a data engineer and you're now seeing your work getting done partly by someone from, I don't know, marketing or finance, and and you feel a little insecure in your job, I think the company that protects that data engineer and helps transition into whatever will be the future, I think they will accumulate so much more experience, so much more knowledge compared to the companies that just says, okay, now we can reduce our workforce with, I don't know, 20%. The only thing, as I see it, and it's completely just my own point of view, but the only thing that results in is a company doing the things of the past faster than in the past. Good luck winning the future with that. I mean, I don't see that as a recipe for success. I think you need to be very aware that the people you have and the experience they accumulate is the most precious thing in this transition because no one has the answer. We can all see some perspectives, right?
Yeah.
But no one has the answer right now. So pretending that the answers of the past is something that we can build the future with, that would just make that more effective is, yeah, I honestly don't believe in that strategy. I have no, like, I'm not afraid of saying that. And I don't, obviously, I'm also thankful that we're not in a company like that. But I see many companies like making these announcements, and for me, doesn't make all that much sense. Like, what is it you're trying to achieve then? That's very short-sighted.
Yeah, so I mean, so our CEO in a podcast interview he did in December talked about how he wants us to use more AI because he wants us to have a better work-life balance, right? That he's seeing a lot of people burning out, right? We're so enthusiastic about what's going on right now that it's hard to control the energy level and the work that's being done. So he's like, we would need to be using more AI so we can free people up for what people can do that machines can't, right? The innovation, the soft skills, the really helping deliver more value to the business, and taking all of the boring stuff, cleaning up after tests that fail, and so on, right? And using AI to handle that, and looking at it from a quality of life perspective. So yeah, I quite like that. One of the participants I met at lunch this week at Gartner works 4 10-hour days a week, and I'm like, but don't you find that you just so she has like a 3 day weekend every weekend. I'm like, but don't you find that your work spills into your day off? She's like, no, that's my day off. I've managed to keep work contained to 4 days. So I think we might see more of that happening too with the assistance of AI, right? That people can be as productive or more productive in a shorter period of time.
Yeah, that might just be the case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Now, except for me. Like I want to write books all the time, so yeah, I
And I
can't
have
help myself.
right? So yeah, but the next Friday I will be at my nephew's getting married, so it's like the first family wedding of that generation. So I won't be around for our Substack. But JGP is moving house today, or packing up his old house to sell it because he's actually moved house already. So he's not with us today, but he'll be back next week, and maybe we can find another guest to join you guys.
Yes, and let's look into that.
Yeah.
But Emma, that sounds wonderful. I wish you a happy what do you call that wedding party?
And it's Ireland, and it's
Should
St. Patrick's Week, so it's going to be a fun week in Ireland. And he's having a 3-day wedding. It starts on Thursday and ends on Saturday. So,
wow.
yeah, it should be a fun time.
Mm, yeah, that sounds great. Enjoy it, and thank you everyone for being on. We need to run to prepare for our next meetings internally, but it was great. And Ramona,
Oh,
we
Ramona just
will
volunteered to host with you guys next week, so it'd be great.
we
So
we will
maybe
send you an invite, Ramona. We will.
awesome. Thanks, Ramona. Appreciate it. Cheers,
Yes,
guys.
thank you. Cheers. Bye bye.
Bye.